The last source I saw on ESPN said Tyler Wilson's out for tomorrow's game against Alabama.
Yeah,
And
I saw that on SportsCenter today. He is out.
okay, and then but yeah, and so Louisiana Monroe, they take on Auburn this week, and
So
Auburn's 0-2. Auburn has not gone to crap, but they've been below average
ever since Cam Newton
ever
left.
since Cam Newton left. I mean, I think Gene Chiswick's under 500 since Cam Newton has not played for Auburn. And
Yeah.
I mean, you go from going 14-0, winning a Heisman, winning a national championship. You go from such a high to just dropping into such a low.
Yeah.
It really takes a toll on your team, you as a coach, your fan base. And Auburn, they're trying to avoid going 0-3 for the first time since 1950. Louisiana Monroe, definitely a lot of confidence after going into Arkansas's home stadium and beating them in overtime.
Right. And I mean, I think I was watching College Game Day on Saturday. Yeah. And they were talking about how these small schools just play these big schools just to get money out of it.
And then they go in and beat them. And it all started with Appalachian State beating Michigan
right.
in 2007.
And I mean, not everybody's like Louisiana Monroe, and not everybody. You're never. Most of the times, you're gonna get your butt handed to you.
Yeah.
And basically, the morally, I don't think it's. I mean, I just don't think that you should be taking losses for some extra money in your football program.
Yeah. Exactly.
But in this case, Louisiana Monroe, they did beat this good team, and it worked out for them, I guess. And they're still getting their money, so it all worked out.
And Penn State, I could have seen this coming. 0-2 on the season. Kicking problems. Dear Lord, I think their kickers missed more than he's made. Like, I think he's missed 5 field goals and an extra point. Granted, their starting kicker from last season that I think was 14 for 17 transferred to UT. So they obviously lose his experience. And kicking is such a mental thing that, I mean, once you miss one, you
miss a bunch.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I can't imagine what their kicker's going through. But 0-2 on the season. Bill O'Brien has his hands full. We've talked about that before, and it's going to be a rough season.
It's a bad situation all around.
I mean, I'm me being a sports fan, I want to see how bad it could get. Like, I definitely think they could lose all their games this year.
I definitely think that is a possibility, and I mean, it's not out of the realm. It's not out of the realm whatsoever. They could very well lose every game this season, and it's just you have to think about it. Like they're coming off all this stuff that happened over the offseason, and sometimes maybe you just can't get over it. You have this cloud hovering over you every game, and who knows if they're really going to get over it anytime soon, at least.
Dude, and the thing about Penn State is look at what they have to play for. And you probably can't come up with much because they can't play in the postseason. They're losing scholarships. I mean, yeah, you're playing to represent the university, but as a competitive athlete, you have to want more than that. There has to be some incentive. And I'm not saying they're saying, "Oh, we can't do anything about this." I'm not saying that they're saying, "Okay, let's go out and lose all of our games. We don't have anything to play for." From my standpoint, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
How can you get motivated to play
when you don't have anything to play for? Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, that is a big problem. Well, it's not. It's a problem that Penn State has, and they're going to have a lot of years to get over it. You want to?
Yeah. One more upset, and I think David Pollock picked this on Game Day. Wisconsin goes into Corvallis at Oregon State, and Oregon State's been known to give some upsets every now and then. Oregon State takes care of business. I remember, I think it was whenever Jaquiz Rogers' freshman year was. I guess that was 2008. They beat USC at home when USC was number one. But, Oregon State beats Wisconsin, and that kind of knocks out any credibility that Wisconsin was building up for a BCS run. I mean, I guess they could maybe get into the Rose. My pick for the Rose Bowl, as of right now, coming out of the Big Ten, it's got to be Michigan State. I mean, Michigan's lost. Granted, it's not a conference loss. Neither is Wisconsin's loss to Oregon State, but that's still a blemish on their resume. And I just don't. The team that I see play, the two teams I see playing in the Rose Bowl are Michigan State and Oregon, and I think that would be a great game.
And that is a fair assumption.
And I mean,
that's a fair. Yeah, that's a fair. That I think that could very well happen, and I think it's a very well.
And I mean, it is the going on the third week of football, but
right.
I mean, predictions are made
all
from
the time.
Day one.
Exactly, and you can always predict, and it's not bad to. I mean, we're only in week 3. Let's get it straight. We're only in week 3, but we got to predict what's gonna happen this season and what's gonna go down this season, and it's gonna be a hell of a season. Let's just get that straight.
Coming up, we'll talk week 3. Previewing this, Michigan State, Notre Dame. Tyler Wilson out for Bama. Touched on that. USC and Stanford. Stay right there. This is Spreaker Web Radio, 4th and Inches. We'll be back.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well,
you're listening to 4th and Inches on Spreaker Web Radio, presented by Bayou State Pawn and Jewelry, RDM Audio, and Bayou Bark. Now, here are the hosts, Nick Lott and Armando Ramirez.
And we're back, 4th and Inches, Spreaker Web Radio. Back from that commercial break, previewing week 3, some headliner games that, well, one of them's not really a headliner anymore, and we touched on why last segment. Michigan State and Notre Dame. And let me just touch on Michigan State for a second. Their freshman quarterback, starting off the season against Boise State, you had 2 freshman quarterbacks going at it. Obviously, some first-game nerves. Worked those out in week 2, though. And a big factor to that is he doesn't have to throw the ball as much because he has a beast of a running back behind him in Le'Veon Bell. He's creeping his way up the Heisman lists. And look, I know this is last season, but let me just dive into the past here for a second. Robert Griffin made his claim on the Heisman in week 1 in that whatever it was, 50-48 win over TCU. Right. And he was flawless. I think he had more touchdowns than incompletions in that game. And for the first 3 weeks, he had more touchdowns than incompletions. At one point, I think he had 14 touchdowns and like 12 incompletions or something like that. And his first interception came at the Kansas State game, like the 5th game of the season, and it came at the worst possible time. But what I'm trying to say is people don't just pop up for the Heisman in week 5. Right. They make and if going into the season, Robert Griffin, people weren't talking about him. Yeah, they were talking about him, but not in the fact that this guy could win the Heisman. And I mean, he just took the country by storm. And Le'Veon Bell is doing that now. I mean, he's averaging 200-something yards a game and 2 scores. And if that's not up there in the Heisman voting, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and I think he definitely has some competition. He definitely has some sturdy competition. I think right now USC's Matt Barkley is a good first place right now. He's done a lot, and he's had some good games. to the point where he can still be first in the competition. But I think Michigan State's Le'Veon Bell, he is a very good running back. He's an explosive running back, and he definitely has a shot at competing with Matt Barkley, the presumptive Heisman winner for this year. And you gotta think about it. Like he's coming in. Matt Barkley's coming in, and he's like, okay, well, this is my year. I just came off my junior year, going into senior, and I'm the presumptive Heisman
NFL draft.
Exactly, and I'm the presumptive Heisman winner for this year. And then Le'Veon Bell, take it from his perspective, he's trying to knock him off his horse, and he's trying to beat him, and he's trying to be so explosive and be such a MVP for his team that he can win the Heisman. And I think there is a good possibility that he could do that.
The thing about Le'Veon Bell going into this season is he split a lot of time last season as a second-string running back, and going into fall camp, he was telling the coaches, okay, I want to be the guy that you depend on. I want to be the every down back. I want to be in every offensive play, barring injury.
Right.
And so far he's been that. I mean, just look at what he did against Boise State, hurdling a guy. There was this play where it was like 3rd and 16, and they had the ball on like their own 7-yard line, and he broke. If the last guy didn't tackle him, he would have gone like 92 yards for a touchdown. He just breaks off highlight reel run after highlight reel run, and that's basically what Robert Griffin was doing last season. I mean, just look at all of his good plays, and it seems like every play this guy makes is huge. Whether it's getting a first down, getting into the end zone, converting on 3rd down. I mean, and they may seem like little plays now, but come November, December, once everything gets hyped up
exactly
for the Heisman, those little things that he does
are going to be
fighting for those extra yards to get the first down. That's what people are going to look at when they're voting. Not necessarily your numbers, but how. And I like to. One reason I think Robert Griffin won the Heisman is because what he did off of the field. I don't know if you know this or if you've ever heard me talk about it, but off the field, he was a student athlete. I mean, this dude, he graduated, he had his master's. All right, my sister went to Baylor for 4 years, and Robert Griffin went to Baylor for 4 years. My sister graduated with her bachelor's in biology and chemistry and a minor in French in 4 years. 3.5, 4 years. And Robert Griffin had his master's in political science in 4 years. And my sister had a 3.83 GPA. And she was in a sorority, so I guess you could consider that extracurricular, but she wasn't the quarterback of the football team. And that just goes to show that his work ethic, and I mean, you see it now in the pros. Look at what the rookie quarterbacks did this week.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck, 3 picks. Brandon Whedon, 3 picks. Russell Wilson, 2 picks. Robert Griffin, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he definitely helped a lot of fantasy teams out this week, and with those 3 touchdowns, and he played absolutely spectacular. But we're talking about college football, so
yeah, we are. And sorry about that.
All
right, back to Michigan State and Notre Dame.
We got a little off track. I think Notre Dame. Brian Kelly, he's a good coach. He's flip-flopping the quarterbacks right now. Tommy Rees saved them last game with the. I think it was like the 2-minute drive or whatever to come back and win the game. And but the first game in Ireland, I mean, he wasn't playing, and the other quarterback was playing, and he did a good job too. So I think a big X factor, a big dark horse in this game is seeing how Brian Kelly handles the quarterback situation in the game, and who he puts in, and when does he put him in, to see how all this is going to work out. And I think the Michigan State, and I think Notre Dame has a big test with the Michigan State defense, which is very good and highly ranked in the country.
I personally like Michigan.